cow. We are live on Facebook. Hello,
Yeah.
everyone. Holy cow. Welcome to the Ponytails podcast.
Episode 30.
Episode 30. I am your co-host, Andres Gamboa Barrera, and I am joined by Nick Taverdi, my co-host. And I mean, the legendary.
Do we need to
ultimate-
introduce?
We're going to introduce, but
Okay.
I got to tell you, I am so excited, man. This was like a milestone for me when we were looking to do this podcast, man. So before I drop the name, as you already know who it is, like we need an introduction, right? Let me tell you about some of these, basic stats. Oh, man, 21 years with Southwestern, right? So since she was a baby, right? Number 13 all-time producer out of over 150,000 salespeople that ever sold for Southwestern. 10 summers, multiple 10,000 plus summers, best summer over 12,000 units. Both of her sisters sold books and both sold 5,000 units in their first summer. So kind of could recruit, kind of could train. Literally DSM that led the force organization throughout the Midwest. I mean, we're talking multiple states. This is the time where Nebraska was the number one campus in the world in 2001. Naturally, the tradition of winning of 1994, 95, and 97, national champions,
Football.
which she was in school for during that time, of course.
Yes.
The one and only Yvette Morehouse. Oh my gosh, I am so pumped. Thank you.
Thanks for having me here, guys.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining.
Yes,
We're so
thanks
blessed
both
to
of
have
you.
worked with you, and it's just it just feels like another info session, right?
Or just another, PC on campus, got my tea and, ready to
Oh yeah.
talk about a great summer, right?
Both Andres and I, for those listening, spent our entire Southwestern career working with Yvette, an amazing DSM who just gotta be thankful for the impact that she's had on my life, because I've never had a leader who's been so into the details of how I can be a better version of myself and have a strict schedule and actually have goals that I can follow through on. And just an honor to have you with us. And I feel sorry for everybody else who didn't get to work with you, because let's find out about your story. It's quite the story, where I do know how that first summer went, just because I've heard it so many times at all those info sessions we spent at Creighton on campus. And it was a pretty good first summer. 1868, that was the number of units, right?
Yes, little did I know until a couple years later that was the same year Southwestern started working with college students. So clearly
Yeah.
that was a sign, right?
So let's rewind the clock. Let's talk about who was Yvette Kuester, the younger version of, just this absolute legend that, was on campus at Lincoln. If I remember correctly, had never really been on an interstate before, at least never driven on an interstate.
That's true. Yeah, driving to Nashville. My first summer was the first time I drove on an interstate.
Oh yeah. So let's talk about who was Yvette when she first learned about the Southwestern experience, and how did it make sense to, eventually stick around for 2 decades, and you're still with the family of companies, which is awesome as well. So go ahead and tell us about how you got into selling books.
Okay. Well, let's see. So I was a freshman at the University of Nebraska in Lincoln. This was the fall of 1994, back in the good old days.
Oh yeah.
And let's see. So I was living in the dorms in Schramm. And it was the fall of my freshman year. So I'd hardly even been on campus a few weeks, literally. And I get this phone call in my dorm room. And it's, we don't have cell phones yet. So, I get this call, and it's a role model of mine from high school. Her name was Emily Drews, and so I grew up in Creston, Nebraska, so northeast Nebraska, little town of 180 people.
Metropolis.
Yeah, more cows than people on our farm. More cows on our farm than in town, right?
Wow.
But anyway, in high school, I was in an organization called FCCLA, Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America. And so I was really big into that. I was the president of my local chapter in my high school, went to, district, state, went to nationals one time. So anyway, Emily was somebody I looked up to from a neighboring town. And she was maybe 3 years older than me. And so she was like a state officer and just somebody that I totally admired and looked up to, right? I didn't know her super well, but I had met her and, admired her from afar mainly, right? And so here comes this phone call from her that fall. And of course I was just excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, how does she know my number? And oh my gosh, Emily's calling me, right? I just felt special that this person I knew was calling me. Well, anyway, she wanted to tell me about this summer job that she had been doing the last few summers. Mm-hmm. Okay, so of course, me,
summer job,
excited to be on campus, small town girl, farm girl, just getting out in the world. Okay, everything's exciting, sure, So I actually invited her to my dorm room. And I kid you not, I signed up to sell books that day, sitting cross-legged on the floor of my dorm room in Shram 311.
Wow.
I actually didn't know that. I thought you actually showed up to an info session. But
I know, I did not. And so there was literally no interview process. I mean, so I don't even remember what happened. I must have been so excited that, she just signed me up on the spot.
That's awesome. And so what was going through your head? Like, was the promise of like, hey, we're going to relocate under the leadership, not just of Grant Greeter, because I know that it was
Curtis.
Was it Curtis? Yeah,
Curtis.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Curtis.
So you were following the leadership of Curtis to go to New England, was it that first summer?
Actually, no, my first summer was in Minnesota.
Ah, that's right. Yeah.
And then all my other summers were in New England. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so for me, I guess the big draw for me was the money and the travel initially. Growing up on a farm in Nebraska, I never known like, what, you can make $5,000 in a summer? I definitely didn't make that, last summer walking beans and working at a grocery store, sacking groceries. So that was a big draw for me. And then also, just the opportunity to travel, because growing up, we didn't really take family vacations, but I always thought that would be so cool to get to travel. Our big vacation was, an hour and a half to Omaha to the zoo, which of course, #1 zoo in the world, which is cool. But for me, I was excited to have the opportunity to travel other places. So yeah, initially those were a couple things that drew me to it.
Where in Minnesota did you sell?
Big Lake, Monticello, Buffalo.
Is that like north or south of the Twin Cities?
Oh, now you're really, I mean, this is 26 years ago. But it is, there's probably Minnesota people listening and they would say I'm wrong.
That's okay. Tell me about like
west. It's west, maybe north and west.
We'll have Nick check on that.
I'm checking right now. Absolutely.
Okay. See if I'm right.
Well, while he's on that, let me
north and west of the Minneapolis metro.
There we go.
Got it.
Big Lake. Yep. Monticello right up in there. Yep. Cool.
Legend. So let me hear about like, so your the first experience, because you just drove in an interstate, so you saw Nashville. At what point, like, were you like were you coachable from like the very beginning? Was it right away that it started and you'd been just really excited for it and trained well, or was it more like first thing new to you? And walk us through like that very first experience of like your first store, even like how did you feel going from like little town Nebraska to this like giant country? What was that like?
Yeah, well, so my parents fortunately helped me out and bought me a car for that first summer. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have a car my freshman year of college, but they did get me a car for the first summer. And I was really excited, arriving in Nashville, because I was basically the first person selected on campus that year.
So
right. And so like, here I am thinking, okay, I've got this. I mean, I know my sales talk, frontwards, backwards. I just felt pretty confident that, I knew what I needed to do. And, they told me I had to be a hard worker, which obviously growing up on a farm, I can handle that,
Right.
and they said I had to be committed. Of course I'm committed, and so I'm like, sweet, this is going to be awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wild. How wild. And then so walk us through like the vision of like that you had. Was it like, did you know you were going to be here for 21 years, or was it always like at what point did that come about, and how did that develop?
Well, after my first summer, I was never going to do this again.
That's what we all said.
So my excitement did decrease a little bit.
Okay.
My first 3 weeks of my first summer. And that definitely was very eye-opening for me. For sure, my first summer at that point in my life was the most challenging thing that I'd ever done, right? I mean, I'd never been out of my comfort zone that much. The rejection was pretty tough for me. Growing up in a small town, I knew everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone liked me. I was president of this, started on this sports team, queen of that, right? Because, well, there's only a few options, so of course. So, that was really hard, the rejection. Being away from home, I was not homesick at all my freshman year of college. So when my student manager on campus was talking to me about, trying to emotionally prepare me that I might get homesick, I kind of blew her off a little bit, because I'm thinking, oh, well, I've been away, all school year, and I haven't been homesick. So, why would I be homesick this summer, right?
Right.
But I definitely got homesick. And then another tough thing for me was just the fact that I wasn't good at sales right away, right? And so for me, that was very humbling. Again, being used to being in an environment where I was good, so to speak. And so that was really hard.
Dang.
So anyway, those first 3 weeks, I definitely had some doubts. And I got to the point my second week of that first summer where I just couldn't handle it anymore. I didn't like this. This wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And doing anything for my summer sounded better than this.
Even lifeguarding?
Well, I never lifeguarded, but working on my dad's farm. After that, I did not want to do that originally, but I even was okay with doing that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that was, I would say one of the most pivotal moments of my life was that day when I pulled up to a payphone. Okay, again, some of you younger listeners might not know what a payphone is. There's these little things in a parking lot, like a post with a phone, and you can pull up. It was like a drive-up one where I could pull up my car.
Oh, really?
Sit in my car, right? And I'd actually made a collect call.
Yeah.
That's young knows what that is. So I didn't have to pay for it. I just make a collect call to my parents. And I strategically did this during the day where I figured my mom would answer, because my mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad was a farmer, so likely he's out working. Well, to my surprise, when I called that day, my dad picked up the phone. Now, for the last 3 or 4 hours prior to me having the courage to make this call, I had been, basically sitting around crying, telling myself, woe is me. This sucks. I don't want to do this, right? Mr. Mediocrity was definitely, talking a lot to me. So anyway, so my dad picks up. And so now I'm trying to pretend that I haven't been crying for 4 hours, right? Yeah, hey, is mom there? No, she's at the store. Why are you calling? Aren't you supposed to be working? Yeah, I just needed to talk to her real quick. And he's like, what's going on?
Oh.
Right. And then obviously Niagara Falls.
Mm-hmm.
Out it comes.
Yep. And so I tried to get out amongst my, hysterical bawling episode, gasping for air, like, I can't do this, basically that whole routine. Some of you on this call were there in your own Southwestern experience.
We've been there.
Some of you have been there, right? And so anyway, it probably took me 5 minutes to get that out. I don't want to do this. I hate this. I'm coming home tomorrow. And then there's silence. Well, I'm still crying, but. And so then he said, well, Yvette, I don't know what to tell you. You told those people that you would do this for the whole summer. Emily sat at our kitchen table and told us that this might happen. And you told her and us that you were committed to doing this and finishing what you started. And so I'm sorry. I know this is hard, but you're not coming home, because the last thing that I'm going to do is allow one of my daughters, who we've taught the principle of not quitting, to give up. So I suggest you get back out there. That's what Emily said you're supposed to do, is go see these 30 people a day, and we'll talk to you on Sunday.
Wow.
And I, of course, am still bawling, right? And what a jerk, my dad.
Come on, Dad.
Right? So anyway, I didn't accomplish much the rest of the day. I still was wallowing in my self-pity, right? So the next day I did not go home. So I was being coachable with my dad. But I still didn't want to be there, right? And really, the rest of that second week, even into the beginning of my third week, I just didn't want to be there, right? And I had that mindset of, I hate this. I don't want to do this, right? And then, at that Sunday meeting leading into my third week, I do remember my student manager talking to me about, hey, it's a choice, right? If you're actually committed, which you told me you were, you have a choice. You can either choose to be miserable the rest of your summer, or you can choose to do the things that we taught you, that you learned at sales school, and have a better experience, right? So somewhere along the way, I don't remember the exact moment, but somewhere along the way, I decided to change my attitude, right? Attitude is everything.
Choice.
That's right.
That is a choice, right? So that was the biggest thing, somewhere in the middle of that third week, that I changed my attitude and decided, okay, I'm going to be here. I'm not going to quit. I finally decided, recommitted to myself, that I'm going to be here. Right. And then what do you know? It started to get better.
Oh, wow.
What do you know, right?
What is
Of course, I wasn't like this superstar salesperson my first summer. It was still hard, but I got better, right? Because I focused on the controllables, working the hours, doing the demos, having a good attitude. And so, I was able to finish my first summer. Like you said, Nick, I delivered 1868 for my units. And won the Sizzler trip to Mexico, which was one of my goals, right?
Just barely, right?
Barely, but it counted, right?
Hey, it's in the goal. It's in the goal. That's right.
And I did make actually over $7,000 that summer. My goal was $5,000, so that was pretty cool, right? So, but yeah, so I then went back to campus, and I mean, even when I got to campus that fall, I was like, okay, done with this Southwestern thing. I did it. I finished. I made money. I get to go to Cabo, but okay, I can at least check that off that I did that.
So that was the first summer.
That was the first summer.
Wow.
I got through it. I did get better, right, which was good, but I definitely was not going to ever do this again.
Right.
So then what happened?
Right. How did you?
Because I don't know if you remember, but you did like 20 more.
Right.
No, I only sold 10 summers, but I was there, yes, 21 years.
Sure.
So then I, pretty much that fall, I didn't really hang out with Southwestern people. I was kind of the person I was avoiding. hanging out with most of them, right? Because again, I didn't want to do this, and I mean, I was nice to them if I saw them, but it wasn't going to be purposeful with spending time with people that I didn't see, in my future, right?
Yeah.
So fortunately, I won that trip to Mexico.
Ah.
Oh,
Fun.
that's where they get you.
Yeah, that's where they get you. Well, anyway, I met a lot of cool people there, and I remember one gal. I don't even remember her name, but I remember her kind of when she was asking me when we're at this resort. She like asked me about next summer, and I was like, well, I'm not coming back. And she was just like, all I remember is like she looked at me like really weird. Obviously, the student manager been doing this well, and was just like, why? Like, why wouldn't you do this again?
Huh.
And so, that kind of got me thinking a little bit about, well, why wouldn't I? And, she was talking about how there's still a lot to learn, right? So that sort of thing. So I think she kind of planted a seed that, well, maybe I should be open-minded, right?
Right. Why not?
And so then back on campus, the rest of whatever that was, November, December. So then I did eventually, after a few conversations with some of the managers and leaders back on campus, I decided, okay, I'll do this again, and went to GRS, and the rest is history.
Oh, Sizzler. It's the Sizzler return
How to
trip.
get you,
Dang.
right?
Yep.
What
I guess it
works?
works for me. Doesn't work for everyone, but worked for me.
Right. It works for a few
Yeah,
people.
exactly. So
sorry to keep asking all the questions. I know Andres probably has a ton himself, but I'm curious how like your reluctancy of like eventually getting the GRS and everything. Like, how many people did you bring out that second summer, and how did you wind up kind of building year after year a huge business that wound up taking off and creating just like this huge portion of the Force organization? Obviously, there's some stories therein, so go ahead and share where you want to.
Yes.
Yeah. So then, that second summer going into that, I was a sophomore. I brought 4 people on my team. They were all friends of mine. And so that was fun. I really liked that piece of it, because one thing that I liked back in high school about my FCCLA experience was the leadership part. And so, so that was cool, right? I liked having that responsibility and opportunity. However, 3 of them went home. One finished, didn't make Sizzler, but that's okay. I improved. I didn't have a huge leap. I don't even think I hit growth toward my second summer, but I still improved, right? So my second summer was in Connecticut. And then my like third and fourth years were kind of like similar like that, with recruiting, a small team in school. Some finished, some didn't. Then, a couple started coming back. Okay, so now we are going into my 5th summer. So in college, I was a 5th year senior, because of course I had, 2 majors and 3 minors. So it took me a while.
Victory lap. Let's go.
So that's going into my 5th summer. So my 4th summer, I delivered 5,000 units. So at that point, that was my best summer.
Yeah.
However, I really was dissatisfied with my results still as a 5,000 unit producer, because I just knew I wasn't tapping into my potential, right?
I mean, you had some really great examples to see what was possible, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there were great, people like Grant and Curtis and other, top producers around me. So I knew what that looked like. Oh, and also we kind of like were sister orgs with Seeds, now known as Redline, right? And so that was big too for eventually my belief level to really break through a lot of belief barriers, because they sold nearby us in New England. And so a lot of times we do border bashes and Sunday meetings where a lot of them, were, 10,000 unit producers, right? But anyway, back to going into my 5th summer. So I made a decision that, okay, you know what? It's time to stop just kind of dipping my toe into this whole thing I'm going to be graduating, and I liked the idea of the opportunity at that point to stick around and be a full-time recruiter, be a sales manager. I don't think at that point I was picturing being a DSM quite yet, but I did like what I saw as far as the opportunity and the lifestyle and such. So I wanted to at least set myself up to even be asked, right, to stick around, right?
Right.
So I decided that summer, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from 5,000 to 10,000 units for my personal sales. And I'm going to stop messing around, because I think my best team was probably 5. And I'm going to bring, and I was part-time, full-timing. Well, not really. I was an in-schooler. It was my 5th year of college, but I was kind of doing the part-time, full-time thing. And so I said, okay, I'm going to bring a 10-person team.
Now,
10.
Now, hang on. So let me explain, because sometimes we have people listening who are not book people. So for the idea of like the jump from 5,000 to 10,000, like if you in today's unit dollars adjusted, that would be, take it times 7 now. So if you sold 10,000 units, you would have profited $70,000 today, which there's people doing that, right? So
Right.
it not only was it a jump, but it was just like a big raise. It wasn't like you were making 5,000 more dollars. You were jumping big time. And so that
I basically went from making $25,000 when I sold 5,000 units to when I delivered 10,000 that summer, I made over 50.
Yeah, at the time, which is a lot of money.
35 to 70.
Yeah, 26, 20 something years ago. That's money. So that's big. And then also just the jump in recruitment, like to really bring out a 10-person team. And you were still in school?
I was still in school.
That's outrageous. I mean, like, I struggled for 5. I struggled to get 5. 10 is out. While you were going to school and killing it in school too, like, incredible. So
it was all about the schedule, right?
It was. I actually brought 13 people because I followed my schedule, because I had a lot going on. I mean, I had a boyfriend. I was in a sorority. So, my sorority sisters, it's our last semester, we got to go out or whatever.
You're a president, right?
I got to actually go to school.
Yeah, president of the sorority.
Not just in a sorority. You were the president of the sorority. Like, no, like, not busy.
I was, you're right. Yes. So anyway, that was a pretty big moment when I made the decision, okay, I'm going to have these jumps, right? And one thing that was happening after that summer where I sold 5,000 units, I started hanging out with these 10,000 unit producers. And I was like, okay, even though I was maybe intimidated at first to like kind of talk to them, like I've started to realize, wait a minute, they're no different than me. They're not like extraordinary. And, if they can do it, I can do it.
Oh, yeah.
One thing that really fueled my fire was, and so, I know there's lots of current book people listening here too. And so, just sharing that, you really have to have that big reason why that you're going to get this goal, right? And so for me, what happened, one thing that really fueled my fire was I heard about the story about another 10,000 unit producer in the company. And I heard about this person taking coffee breaks during the day.
Getting off schedule.
Like, what are you?
Some people's kids, man. Some people's kids.
So
some people's book kids.
So I wanted to prove that I could sell 10,000 units doing it the way Southwestern taught, right? Like being on schedule, 30 demos a day, just doing it like that, right?
Awesome.
So that was
replicatable.
one of my motivations, right? To just prove that you can do it by following the system.
Damn.
So anyway, there was a lot of preparation that went into that summer. I did bring out 13 people. So that was a huge part of it. So any of you listening that are currently recruiting, you still have a month left of recruiting. Some of you 6 weeks. It's like, go out there and do the schedule, do the work it takes to recruit a team. And no matter how many people you bring out from now till the summer, just that activity and the conversations that you're having with people. I mean, you're selling, right? Recruiting is selling, right? I mean, that was a big thing that prepared me for the jump from 5 to 10,000 units, was just recruiting consistently, because I was developing my sales skills through that. But then there was, of course, the piece of, visualization and, all the technical preparation I knew I needed to focus on to actually do that, right?
So and sorry, like pause real quick because I want to hear how the summer went. But like, who taught you that at this point? I mean, like, where were you reading a lot? Like, where was that coming? That's super wise to do. I mean, where did you get the idea to do this? And like, was it from the other people who were selling 10,000 units, or
Yeah, I
what about
mean,
that?
I decided, well, I should probably start listening to these people that are more successful than me and actually do what they say, right? And so I just was a true student of the game that year, that school year, where I actually did the things people told you to do to sell a lot of books, right? It's not
Right.
rocket science. I just actually did it.
Oh, fair enough.
Right.
Dang.
Simple, easy, just work hard. Be
And
coachable.
so your fifth summer would have been 19 or 99 or
1999.
1999. So we're talking about just like the force is big at this point too. Like it's starting to get
Growing quite a bit.
real big.
Mhm.
Grant's killing it. You know,
Is
Curtis is
Curtis still around?
I think so.
Yeah.
that's wild. Okay, cool. So then what happened? How'd that summer
Okay.
go?
So anyway, so now we go to New Hampshire. That was my first summer in New Hampshire. I sold multiple summers there, but one of my team members was my sister Ingrid. So I'm the oldest of three girls. So
Oh,
Ingrid was a freshman that summer at the
shout out
University
to
of.
Ingrid.
Yep, shout out to Ingrid. And so she was one of the people on my team. And so she lived with me in Manchester, New Hampshire. And I had two other girls that were both walkers, actually. So a four-person Power HQ.
Oh yeah.
Let's go.
And well, that was actually really key also because now I have not just any first year on my team, but it's my sister, right? And
Ah,
the last thing I wanted to have happen was my sister, first of all, quit. That cannot happen. And of course, I don't want her to be just mediocre, right? I want her to be successful, right? So
stud.
that was a key, like the whole leadership by example. I definitely was into that. And so yeah, it was a great summer. I did hit 10,000 units. My
Dang.
sister delivered five, and then the other two first years both delivered 4,000 units.
Wow.
Jeez.
So that was
Power
fun.
HQ.
That
Oh
was fun.
my gosh. So that HQ had 10, 15, 23,000 units, something like that. Holy moly. And did that summer, like, was it off to a fast start right away? I mean, did you, like,
Mm-hmm.
was it immediate or like, how are those 10,000 distributed? Was it like, 800, like, how did that go?
Yeah, well, so the summer before my 5,000 unit summer, my best week ever was like 400 and some units.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Chump change by
So,
comparison.
so yeah, I mean, to hit 10,000 units, I need to start upping it, right?
Right.
And so that was again part of my preparation was visualizing what I was going to do, right? And so my first week was kind of a typical first week where I'm just helping people get off the ground and so like whatever that week was. But then my second week, which would have been really my first full week of just getting after it, I I did like 800 units.
Oh, oh, baby.
But it was good. I mean, my belief in what was going to happen was so high that I was like, well, okay, this is supposed to happen. Here we go, right?
Whoa. You seen it in your head.
Yeah. And I saw things like, you know, being recognized in that circle at the Sunday meetings for, first of all, hitting President's Club. I'd never done that before, right? Hitting President's Club, hitting Mort. And that started
Right.
happening because in that next week, I hit Mort.
First time. Boom.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Uh, and I pictured things like we had at the time, I think it was called the President's Club call or Mort Utley Club call. I don't remember what it was, but I'd never talked on that in my whole life. But I pictured myself talking on there, and I pictured people being like, who's Yvette? Never heard of this person. Who is this? Right. And I was doing that like every week.
Whoa.
Right. I asked Grant before the summer if the moment that I hit Mort, if I could turn on my cell phone, because now we have cell phones, 99, if I could turn on my cell phone and call him to tell him I did it. And that happened. Right.
Dang.
So yeah. So again, things that was
Wow.
less than that summer in, visualization and really, things happen twice, right? Once in our mind and once in real life.
Jeez. Oh my gosh.
So, so yeah, and then the
Wow.
rest of history, because here I am hitting Mort every week. Well, of course, my roommates are hitting President's Club,
Sure.
right? I mean, the
Mhm.
first years do half of what you do.
Mhm.
So that was fun. That was fun.
Wild.
And but of course, at the same time, I mean, I'm not the only person, as a manager that's hitting big numbers too, right? I've got lots of other team members around me that are top producers as well, like Brian Wilson,
Right.
uh, you know, Stacia
Shout out
Miller.
to Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Stacia was her first summer, but yeah, some other people around me that were top producers and
Just murdering it.
all
It's
the
just
cream, rising to the top. So that was fun.
right.
Yeah.
Because and I wanted to get into this a little bit because we got to talk about the 2001 summer,
Okay.
as a win. But it's you're carrying this momentum, right? So you're leading by example. So Brian hit 10,000 units. You hit 10,000 units. Station Miller did. Was Grant hitting 10,000 at this point still?
Oh yeah,
I know
Grant's
he did.
still out there selling 10,000 units. Yeah.
So I mean, it's just a group of it's an org of people that are just killing it, just
Yeah.
murdering it.
Lindsay Engelman, Ty Christensen. Mhm.
Just wild. And then how did you guys carry that then? Because like I mean, so now it's just like, all right, we've arrived, and then you hit 10,000 the first time, and then like how did you continue that? How did you maintain between as an
Yeah.
org and yourself?
Yeah, well, that was, I mean, as far as leading up to the University of Nebraska Lincoln being the number one campus in 2001, I mean, that was definitely part of our vision, right, of doing that, which had a lot to do with recruiting a lot of people that are sharp and getting them to produce, and us as leaders, rising to the occasion. So yeah, so that was exciting. That was our goal that year, was to be the number one campus, and yeah, we did it. I mean, Brian Wilson that summer delivered 16,000 units.
Gosh,
Not too shabby.
Yeah. So
that's insane. Oh wow, this is I mean, this is so interesting because I and just like anybody listening, whether it's past, present, and even future bookings that could be listening to this, it's just there's just so much wisdom in how to do a great job at sales, but also just in life. Like the things that you're selling, that you're telling us right now and sharing, they're not how to be good at selling books. It's just how to be good at life, how to take ownership of your life and get after and be successful. And I'm so thankful you're here. um well, I'll get into talking about what you're up to now, unless you have more stories to share about Southwestern. um but I also want to give time for that as well, because we're going here. So
oh yeah,
but
well, I probably could talk more about Southwestern. I mean, there's 21 years.
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
I was gonna say
There's
pepper
there's
in
like
and
a
wine.
DSM in there, some FSLs that you've trained, and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
I apologize, I stepped out for a minute. I've been
Oh, you're
doing a
good.
good job of hydrating myself, and I had to,
Bio break.
that.
Okay, yes.
Bio break.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, share more of that then. Yeah, for sure.
yeah. I mean, I just, just as far as being around for 21 years, I mean, I'm just really grateful for, the opportunity of just being able to help so many people
Mm.
Yeah.
become better versions of themselves, right? I mean, that was really a big motivation, as far as back to one of your questions of when did I know I wanted to be a DSM. So after that fifth summer, that was pretty big when I hit 10,000 units, but it wasn't about that. It was about also my team did well. My team delivered 18,000 units that summer. Came
Your
back,
personal team? Wow.
and my personal team.
Wow.
And so, yeah, and so clearly now, okay, now I'm suddenly an ASL from that summer,
Mhm.
right? And so that was awesome, right? And I suddenly saw what was possible for the future, mainly about the impact on other people, right? Because that
Mhm.
was a big summer just for our whole organization of just seeing how, you know, how the impact, was so big, right? For so many
Right.
people. And so, and so that was probably that was the year where I saw myself sticking around, just because, again, I'm so grateful still to this day of the fact that somebody talked to me about Southwestern. And I do feel that everything happens for a reason. I remember actually my somebody did knock on my parents' door at our farm when I was in high school to sell books. Um,
Ah.
Yeah. My mom didn't buy because
Oh,
I was the high school kid that didn't want to talk to this college student because I was just coming in from outside at the farm and I was embarrassed by what I look like, you know? So I didn't come into the presentation like I was supposed to, but I remember these two people being there, two college kids. So it must have been like a follow day, right? Uh,
Right.
and then my mom also, I realized a few years later, had the layman's Bible library that she told me that a long time ago, her parents bought, from somebody,
yeah.
right? And so I do feel that, for me at least, I identified, about my fifth summer that this is a place I'm meant to be, right? I'm still here 26 years later, right?
Oh,
Um, and for me, it's just, I'm so grateful that somebody talked to me about Southwestern and challenged me to do something outside of my comfort zone to really push me to grow and become the best version of myself, right? And so that was one of the things that I just loved about being a sales manager was getting to give people that opportunity to
mm,
do something different that's out of their comfort zone to really grow, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
wow.
And so that's, so leading into what I do now, that's partly why I'm still here, right? Because I know that at Southwestern, we do make a difference. And so at Southwestern Consulting, as a coach, right? That's what I still get to do is make a difference in the lives of other people
On a daily basis.
on a daily basis, teaching the Southwestern principles that
Mhm.
a lot of
Right.
us take for granted that we learned when we were 18 or 19 or 20.
Schedule, buying atmosphere,
Right.
goals, and like crystallizing them, right? All those.
Self-talk.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I gotta say, just because I want to take this opportunity real quick because it's my podcast and it's our podcast.
Yeah,
Sorry.
whatever you want to do, you're in charge.
And I need to say, Yvette, like the way that you influenced my life, I don't know that I could ever repay. I mean, it was very obvious because I came into Southwestern in 2012. So in 2012, so I remember the first time I met, like saw you and met you and like realized because I got recruited at the very end of the year. So we never even got a chance to meet. I think maybe you came by and dropped off the PSL that Steve needed to get signed. I was like,
Probably.
oh hi. And then like, but the very first time I remember like this powerhouse that you are and was when we were already in Nashville and the it was like the first meeting that you get, like when you first get in, and it's like Grant comes up and they start giving this introduction of who you are. And I didn't know these things about you because you were such a humble person that it just you would never know unless someone talked about it. And they just hyped you up. They gave all these accolades, and you came in this black power suit with black heels and just kill like just power, boom, every step, 10,000 units, number one campus, like this. And it was this legend. And you know, that the lessons that you taught me through just getting to know you through the many PCs, many conversations, through good times and bad times. I mean, like, you know, that that I will never forget that. And I owe you so much of who I am as a person because of that. So thank you so much, Yvette. I'm so honored that you're here.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that God caused our paths to meet, right?
Yeah.
Because I truly believe that this is all meant to be.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
and I speak for like not a couple, not dozens, like thousands of
Yes.
people who feel the exact same way. Like thousands of people. It's insane the influence and the impact that you've had in the world. So yeah, thank you for that. So sorry, I'll let you finish. I'll let you talk about consulting now. But I was like, I need to say this because you just mentioned that and I am one of those people. So thank
Oh,
you.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't have a lot to say about consulting, just that it is fun to be able to still promote those principles, right? So, and we have a lot of our coaches, there's like 130 of us. About half of us sold books, so not everyone did, but I think I can speak for most of us at consulting that did sell books that is, just our experience selling books is so near and dear to our hearts that
Mhm.
it's awesome to be able to really promote those principles and those habits to the professional world, right? And help instill those things in other people, right? And really see the life changing impact in their lives that a lot of us, got to experience when we were in college.
Yeah, that's huge. The How was the transition from going through something like Southwestern for 21 years and then like being brand new at something, being like a rookie
Oh
or
yeah,
first year? You know, what was that like?
yeah. That they actually call us a rookie.
What was that like? I can't imagine. And I'm only saying this because I think I was talking to either DBA or Will Metcher at one point, and because he got into consulting a year before you or something, or
Will, maybe Will was the year, same year, maybe,
or
or the year after me.
2016.
but he was telling me it was really weird to like to not have you as a deal, like to just be like she's also a rookie, like so
Right, yeah,
weird, you know, like
at the same time.
so.
Yeah.
What was that like to feel like new again or new at something?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, after 21 years of doing something, it is fun to switch it up, right? And
Right?
yeah, even though a lot of it was familiar, it was still different, right? I'm suddenly now going from, I mean, I sold books for 10 summers, but then the next 11 years, I wasn't selling, I was recruiting and leading people, which is sales, right? But as far as, kind of your typical making the dials, setting the appointments, that was new, right? So I had to get back into that routine, which is like riding a bike, you get back on again, right? Oh yeah, I remember how to do this, right? Yeah, so that was a little different, but it's the same thing, right? You just follow their system and it works, right? So you gotta
Shocker.
be patient, you'll get better as you go. So
Wow.
yeah.
That must have been real trippy.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like it could have been a bit of a natural transition. I remember sitting down with you and like just hearing about your career with Southwestern Consulting after I had also left the Advantage branch of the Southwestern family of companies, and just like hearing you talk about the ninja ways that you're getting people to like reveal info about how they conduct business, so that you can diagnose things and kind of get clear on what it is their goals are and everything. And I was like, man, this is just a natural fit for Yvette. Um, and I don't think you plan on leaving anytime soon, do you?
No.
Which
That's
is
wild.
great. What I'm kind of curious about is, having knocked on, so many doors, right? Literally dozens of thousands. What are some of the more unforgettable like situations, whether that you found on the book field or that you even heard through someone that you managed?
Oh, do we have 5 more hours?
Right.
Yeah, I was like, we're gonna have to have you back again for another episode, even after all these stories.
Oh yeah. So I don't know. What are some of the like crazy stories that you just love to share and get a laugh? Because you think back and it's ridiculous. Knocking
Right.
on someone's door.
Well, one of my first funny stories was my first summer,
Mm.
and I had my Grand Prix. I called it the Silver Bullet. This is 94, so I was probably like, I don't know, an 80 something Grand Prix. It was pretty popular. Most of my friends had a Grand Prix, a Grand Am, or a Beretta. If you're from the 90s in the Midwest, you probably drove one of those 3 cars.
My first car was a Grand Prix. So.
Okay, yeah. So anyway, it was this one day where, I'm doing the deal and I pull into this driveway in Minnesota. I was kind of working in the country and, having a great day, great attitude. And as I pull up, the mom and dad are sitting out on the porch, right? So I'm just like waving from inside my car, smiling big. And I go to open up my door and it falls.
Oh my God.
I'm like, so I look at my car door, which is like hanging by a hinge. What's going on? And then I look in front of me, and these people are like, first of all, trying to figure out who the heck I am, and I'm just like waving again, smiling, and thinking, what am I going to do here? So it was funny, but it was a nice dad, and he came and he helped. We had to lift the car door up and lock it because basically one of the hinges broke. And so then it was interesting where the next week while they were ordering a part, I had to, pull up to houses and get out my passenger side. I had bucket seats, but I was able to like scoot across, right. So that's an example of my first summer of learning how to be comfortable being uncomfortable, right? And just like not taking myself so seriously, because, well, weird things like that happen, right? And if we can just laugh about it and keep going. Yeah. So that was
That's
funny.
awesome.
That was from the first summer.
That was
I'm
from the
sure.
first summer.
Any others come to mind from New England in particular?
From New England.
Or just like or just like moments that just really were pivotal, like again in your life, like that, like when you call your dad to go quit and then he's like, no, like that really like changed your direction? Anything like that?
As you can tell, that's what Andres is focused on, is like the wisdom.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's have some fun here. Falling doors, that's hilarious.
Either way works. Either one works.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I did want to bring up my other sister, Rachel, because my
Yeah.
sister Ingrid, and maybe we should do like a sister podcast sometime.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
You could probably find some that have like 5 siblings or something.
Mm-hmm.
I only have 2
Powers.
siblings, so 3 of us, but
Mm-hmm.
but anyway, so that I feel, one of the things that is just really cool about my sisters is just we've all had this experience, right, of knocking on doors. And so yeah, my sister Ingrid, she ended up working in our organization for 5 summers. So she sold 5 summers. She full-time recruited down at the University of Kansas, brought a big team, sold 10,000 units. And then my little sister is actually 9 years younger than me.
Wow.
So that's one of the reasons I sold books my 10th summer, is because, well, of course, I want to live with her.
Mm-hmm. So were you her student manager, or was Ingrid Rachel's student manager?
No, I was, because at that point, actually, I think Ingrid had just finished. She had already finished with Southwestern.
Okay.
And then she went over to Tom James, which she's still there now.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So Ingrid wasn't actually there anymore. so yeah, that summer I lived in Albany, New York, with
Beautiful
James
place.
Ferris and my sister Rachel. And so that was fun. And she delivered 5,000 units that summer. So,
Well, here's
Wow.
a direct question. Maybe you're already going to talk on this. Angie Quinones is one of our most regular audience members on these Facebook Lives, and she's wondering, because she's an older sister to her younger sister who is like going into her senior year of high school.
okay.
And she's like already memorized her kids talk, and she's like such a coachable first year. I've met her here in Arizona. But what were some of the ways that you motivated your sister, whether Rachel and or Ingrid, that helped her succeed? She wants to know how she can help her little sister do the same.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the biggest thing is just I led by example, right? I never took a shortcut.
Yeah.
Especially with my sisters, right? I even remember the first day that Rachel followed me. I was running out of callbacks and it was getting dark in New England, like it always does, and around 9 o'clock, but I always work till 9:30. So I remember, just, even though I didn't really have any callbacks, I still just kept going, even though I kind of wanted to stop, but no, I led by example, right? I think that's for any student manager leading any first year, that's the key, is just leading by example. Showing how to give that extra effort, kind of like that one more philosophy,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's one more door, one more demo, whatever it is. And, another one was just, letting them know how much I believe in them and I know they can do it, right? No matter how hard it gets, of course you believe in them, and letting them know, you've got this, you can do this,
Wow.
So just example and belief, never ending, all the coachabilities, right?
Yeah, I would say.
Awesome.
We do have another question, if someone asked, is what are the rhythms or habits in your life that continue to serve you the most, like through all the years and even career shifts, that, what are the things that kind of keep you grounded? That was from Amy Lester.
Yeah, I guess one is just having good self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
Spencer Hayes always talked about that, the power of having good self-talk. And so, I have written affirmations, on the book field. I had them, on my car, or in my car. But, I have affirmations that's part of my morning routine, is I say these affirmations, and I say affirmations throughout the day. Right. So it just keeps Mr. M away, because Mr. M isn't just a book field thing. Mr. M, it's a life thing. Right. And so that, just that habit of good self-talk helps me, personally and professionally. Also just the power of perspective, right? I think I learned a lot through Southwestern on the book field about perspective. And, so just trying with no matter what's going on in the world in general or with myself, just knowing how to keep perspective, right? And then the other one for me would just be my faith of just, knowing that I am here for a purpose, and every day, giving my day to God and knowing that there's a reason that I'm here today to serve those people, whether they're my friends, my clients, my family members, and just to, be the best version I can be, even though I'm not perfect, but just trying to help people in any way I can, to be a light, for others.
Servant's heart, living your life not for yourself, but for others. Important.
Yes.
Good lesson.
Whoa.
I can tell Andres has a question cooking up.
No, I'm just enjoying the wisdom here. This is good. Nick, what do you got? Go ahead. You go ahead, Nick.
Well, I know that we've, you've requested to make this about 90 minutes. We've got another 30 minutes. And I'm just kind of curious, what is it that, we could talk about back to the book field? And, me, I'm like, just one story that's comical doesn't fill my cup. I really am like interested.
Nick is here for the funnies.
Well, why not, right? It's a funny place.
Yeah, I can think of a couple funny stories.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whether it's something directly that happened to you or something through the grapevine where you heard someone doing something crazy. I mean, I know you've heard it all. So whatever you'd like to share.
All right, well, let's see. So let me give you some options here. So we've got, there's a time we almost lost a Jeep in the ocean on Sizzler. There.
Lost what in the ocean?
A Jeep? A Jeep in the ocean?
A Jeep.
Okay.
Tell that story. I got one of my friends out of jail in Mexico, in Cabo. That's the one.
Okay.
There's the other time when a first year at checkout didn't understand that books equal money. Right? Remember that from the stage? Books equal money.
Yep.
And so when we're at checkout and we're missing $10,000 in books, that was an adventure, and we found those books. But it's not in a place you would ever imagine.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
No, we've talked about.
Is that story that we like? I think we've talked about this story on one of our episodes. The books equal money.
Oh,
yeah.
Who told
that manager?
Was that from 2013 by chance?
Oh gosh, you can't put years on
that. Yeah, it was 2013. Yeah. I want to hear about this. I want to hear about the Jeep in the ocean.
I do too. So
honestly. Okay.
I think the audience does too.
Sizzler. Yeah, this was my second Sizzler in Cabo. So my first Sizzler, we went to Cabo. My second Sizzler, we went to Cabo. And I had some really good friends from Northwest Missouri State. And so we decided one day, okay, we're going to go Jeeping tomorrow. This is supposed to be a fun thing, right? So one of the first years, named Jen, she put the whole thing on her credit card, right? Renting the Jeep. And we just paid her, right? Yeah. And so, so typical morning in Mexico, you have breakfast at the resort. Now, the Jeep has arrived. They usually bring the Jeep to the resort, and we all jump in. And actually, there were 3 Jeeps. So it was like a crew of us. So 3 different Jeeps packed with people and doing the Jeeping thing. Most of you that have been to Sizzler in Mexico know what that is. You're just kind of cruising around, sand duning, just whatever. With this rental Jeep, right? And so we were kind of off-roading because in Cabo, it's kind of like there are lots like sand dunes and stuff, and just, kind of go off-roading. So we did this off-roading thing where we found this really wide open beach area. So there's like not any resorts or houses. It's just like, kind of like out in the country where it's just like, oh, look at this, like wide open beaches, right? And this is gorgeous. And so we decided to go there. And so I wasn't driving, but the 3 people that were driving the 3 Jeeps, are kind of driving along the shore of the ocean. Okay, so this is a vehicle and water is getting splashed up, right? Which is fun. We're getting all wet because it's hot. And well, anyway, one of the Jeeps, the Jeep I was in, suddenly stopped because it got, what is that called? Got waterlogged or whatever. I forget.
Yeah.
Flooded, flooded.
Yeah. Jet lag or water.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
Like the water got in the engine, basically.
Yeah.
So we're like, oh, okay, well, I guess, it's really nice here. Let's lay out here. We brought like a volleyball. We'll just hang out here for a while. This is fun, right? So, and we've got Coronas, plenty of Coronas.
You got Corona.
So here we are, it's now, I don't know, afternoon. And we've been here for lots of hours, right? Just hanging out on the beach like you would, right? It's just, we're not at a resort. We're just these 3 Jeeps of people at this secluded beach, right? Well, so every once in a while, we try to get the Jeep started again, and it's like still flooded. Like, well, we'll give it another hour, right? It'll dry out. Clueless, right? Okay. Anyway, and we're not concerned at all. I mean, we're just having Coronas, having a good time. This is awesome. Love Sizzler. Well, now we're getting to late afternoon, and it's not like I grew up by the ocean, but I do understand the high tide concept. So our Jeeps that are parked on the beach, of course, the water is starting to creep up underneath our vehicles. So the other 2 Jeeps are fine. So, we moved them out of the way. Well, anyway, this one Jeep is literally like the water keeps coming higher, and it's pretty strong. It's like coming under, going back, coming under. And so we keep trying to get this Jeep going. Somebody even went to like somewhere to get jumper cables. Like, we're trying everything. We're trying to problem solve. We're book people, right? And then suddenly, I think one of the older student managers, somebody a little wiser than some of us youngins, was like, I think we need to call Roy. And Roy was our sales director, because like we tried everything, and it's like, we can't get this Jeep out. And if we don't do something, it's literally going to get washed into the ocean.
Right.
Like literally.
Gone. Like, not kind of, like,
anyway.
Gone.
Yeah. And of course, Jen is this first year's freaking out because this Jeep is on her credit card.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So anyway, long story short, we had to go back to the resort. So we left the Jeep. I think some people stayed, but we had to go find Roy because, again, we don't have cell phones. This is like 1996.
Right.
There's also not a payphone there, right? So we go back to the resort, we find Roy, and of course Roy is pissed. Like, what the, So that didn't go over very well, but we had to involve him because it's like, we don't know what to do, Well, anyway, I don't even know exactly what happened, but yeah, they had to spend lots of money to like do whatever they did to like lift this Jeep out of the ocean, essentially. And, well, fortunately, Jen didn't have to pay for a new Jeep, so.
Wild.
But, yeah, so that was
Almost had to.
Oh, Sizzler.
Yeah. My friends and I still talk about that one, how we almost, lost a Jeep in the ocean.
Yikes.
Oh, Sizzler.
Sizzler. I do appreciate that story, and I do have another specific question from someone who will remain unnamed because it's a leading question.
Yeah, it is a very leading question.
Who was the best salesman you ever trained?
What do you want me to say here?
This isn't my desire. It's someone else's desire.
Here's when you say they all were, and then we move on.
Yeah.
But I know who asked that question. I feel like you know who asked that question. If you think hard, you could.
Matt or what?
Yes.
Let me think really hard. Matt Atchison.
Oh, okay, wow. I wonder if he's listening. We'll let him know.
Yeah, there you go, Matt.
We'll shout out to Matt. We will not confirm or deny that it was Matt.
Well, he did, have a pretty good first summer and multiple summers after that.
Mm-hmm. Was he the best ever?
No, we're moving on. That's a story that's a question for another time. He didn't, yeah. We don't know that it was him or not.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so then it's okay. So it's 8:35. So do we have time for for a couple legendary stories, or do you want to leave us with like the one? We'll leave it up to you. Dealer's choice.
It's so hard to like think of. I mean, I really should have wrote all these stories down. I mean, honestly. So there's a tip of the day. If you
Right.
know good book stories from your years, you should write them down, because as you get older, you kind of forget,
That's fair enough.
you know. But I'll probably end more with like, food for thought, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that'd be
But
great.
I could tell the checkout story, my most interesting checkout story.
Yeah.
That happened as I was a sales manager.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
Unless that one's already been told.
If it is what we think it is.
Is it Paige
we'll just
May?
let
Is
you
it
know.
Paige May?
No. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yes.
But no, this isn't. This might be I don't know, around the same summer, but this is a different story.
Okay.
Okay, then I want to hear that.
That is a good one. That one was something.
We have told that one twice now, kind of.
Okay, this is a different story.
Please.
Okay, then yes, I'm down for this.
Okay. So again, we're gonna, not say this person's name in case they're ever listening, but
Sure.
this person only sold one summer, but we'll say his name's Joe. That's not really his name, but we'll say his name's Joe.
Joe.
Anyway, okay, so here we are, checkout, yay, checkout, and of course, as a sales manager, it's always fun to, see what's going to happen with everybody and get their checks and, talk about their summers and all the good stuff. Well, anyway, there's not always good stuff, right? So this one first year was selling books in Maine. And we're at checkout, and you know how they reconcile your account. Well, we got to his account that was slid across the counter to me. And well, we kind of had a situation where it showed that we're missing books, like $10,000 worth of books.
Okay. Chump change.
Okay, now it showed that his units were right over 1,800 units, like 1,803 or something. Right, you need 1,800 units to hit Sizzler.
That's peculiar.
Right. Okay, and so it shows that. Now, all summer, this kid is not selling many books, right? Okay, so this is just not matching up. Says 1,800 units. Of course, yeah, you bet. I delivered 18. That's exactly what I delivered. Yep. And I'm like, Joe, where are these books? Like, this is not adding up. Like, you don't have the money. I mean, like, it's not matching up. Money, books, etc. Well, anyway, he was like dead set on, no, these were the units I delivered. This is how many units I delivered. I hit Sizzler.
Oh man.
Okay, so I'm just not getting anywhere with this kid. And so I call in Roy. And Roy's kind of, for most people, a little intimidating. So, okay, we're going to bring in the big dog. And so right away, Roy's like, Joe, where are the books? Like Roy had been around, whatever it was, 40 years.
Seen it all.
Double my time. So he just straight to the point. Where are the books? What do you mean? I delivered all of them. I delivered all of them to all my families, to all my customers. And Roy's like, no, you didn't. Where are the books? Okay, and this kid, again, he is not cracking. I mean, I can tell he's getting a little nervous. So something is definitely up, but he's definitely not being honest, right? And so anyway, long story short, finally we get him to admit that he left the books in a field in Maine.
Oh no.
$10,000 worth of books.
That must be a pretty big sample.
Outdoors in a field in Maine.
I don't know if people know this, but books are not very weatherproof.
Yeah.
For those of you listening that never sold books.
Okay, so now Roy's like, well, how are we going to get those books, Joe? And Roy's like, is your host family home? Probably. And Roy's like, okay, Yvette, you're going to call this host family and we're going to have them go get the books. Okay, how awkward is this? I mean, I took pride in like having good PR with host families, right. So use them summer after summer. And I'm like, okay. I mean, so I didn't have any choice, but I'm like, all right, we got to get these books. Clearly, see, at least admitted there's books somewhere in Maine in a field. So I get the host mom on the phone And I don't even know what I'm going to say. Like, this is so weird. Right. And so I'm like, oh, hey, whatever her name was. Hey, I needed to ask you a favor. And I kind of started to talk and tell her the story. And she's like, oh, do you want to talk to Ty? Okay. So Ty Christensen is still out there selling.
Oh, okay.
However, it's like 3 p.m. and why is Ty at the HQ? So here I am as a sales manager. What is really going on now? And so I'm like, sure, I'll talk to Ty. And I'm like, Ty, we're not getting into this right now while you're at the HQ at 3 o'clock, but I need your help. Okay, so I did not tell Ty that there's books in a field. I said, I need you to get in your car. He's like, what? What's going on? I'm like, get in your car. Okay, and so we got this book kid, in Nashville with me and Roy. We're all on speakerphone, right? I'm like, okay. And so then I said, well, I have Joe beside me here, and you're going to go on a little hunt. He's like, for what? What are you doing? What is this? I'm like, just listen to these instructions.
Be coachable.
So what do we do? Where do we go, Joe? Take a left out of the driveway. Right? Take a left out of the driveway. Drive down to the stop sign. Drive down to the stop sign.
No.
And he's like, I mean, this is like in the middle of nowhere, Maine, right? Out in the country. So there's all these direct, left, right, whatever. Pull into this farmer's field and over by this fence, buy some hay bales. Okay, Ty, I need you to go around those hay bales and tell me what you see. In the world, what are all these books doing here?
Oh my God.
Like, thank God the books are there, because what else? I need those books. Otherwise, I'm going to be on the line for those books.
Charged, yeah.
Right?
Wow.
Well, anyway, okay. So the thankful part of the story too, not only did we find the books, so now I'm telling Ty, here's kind of the situation with Joe, Fortunately, the plastic wrap was on the majority of them. Thankfully, right? So even though, like, especially in Maine, it's kind of like, maybe
Wet.
in the morning, the grass is all wet, right? So some water damage could happen. Fortunately, I think it was only a few that were damaged, but then we were able to, I just said, okay, Ty, you're going to transfer all these books now to your account, right? And then we're going to transfer them to Joe's account, right? So we can get those books back. So,
wow.
Anyway, that was an interesting story. Meanwhile, all the sales managers who are wrapping up everybody else are like, Yvette, are you coming out? And I'm like, no, I'm not coming out. Just go. I'll meet you later. Right? Because this was like literally, I don't know, like a 6-hour ordeal, right?
Yeah.
We finally got to the bottom. So, so fun things like that when you're a DSM.
So did you ever find out why Ty was off schedule?
That's what I was going to ask.
Did you ever address that?
He had some excuse that, end of the summer, I don't know what he was doing. I forget. So
some people's book kids.
But, he delivered 10,000 units, I'm sure. So whatever. Okay. I guess.
Good for him, right?
We'll let it slide. Some people did it while taking coffee breaks, apparently.
Right, exactly. So
Ty did it while hanging out the host mom, getting drunk on an afternoon. Maybe not. I don't know.
I don't think that, but who knows?
I just assumed.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ty, if you're listening. That was, I'm sure, it was all good.
That was a good story.
Dang, I love that. So yeah, if you want to leave us with some food for thought, Yvette, I'm always down to hear some of that wisdom, and then we can wrap it up.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess, for me, again, I think, my experience at Southwestern, obviously, I got better as I went along, not just with my sales, but improving myself. And, so for anybody that's out there that's still with Southwestern, my big message is to do it as long as you possibly can, because what you do does matter. You do change people's lives, of course, the families that we sell books to, but the first years and the other managers that are in your organization. And we just do such a good thing that's so positive in today's world that I think more people need to be out there selling books. So one thing that's kind of cool too at Southwestern Consulting, we even now have a student coaching program. I don't know if you heard about that. Yeah. So it's actually for kids that are like in junior high and high school. Like my niece, actually, Claudia, She's 14 now, and she's in the student coaching, which is super helpful, just helping her stay on track with her grades, and
Who's she getting your coaching from?
about, I don't remember her coach's name off the top of my head, but yeah. And so, I just, I guess my closing thoughts are just remembering to just be grateful for all the principles that we were taught at Southwestern, because they're great principles for life. And how can we continue, no matter what we're doing in our life, how can we continue to live out those principles to others, right? How can we share those with others, right? Just to help share a little bit of what we were fortunate, I feel, to experience, to share that, with others, right? So just leading by example in your personal life, right? To show those principles, whether it's, I'll persist until I succeed, I lead by example, I can, I will, I'm going to, right? The list goes on, right?
I'm nature's greatest miracle.
Yes. Right? And so, yeah, so I guess for me, it's just gratitude for the opportunity that I've had to develop myself, and the opportunity to help others get out of their comfort zones and, become the best versions that they can be, while experiencing the world and developing some awesome friendships, right? Because that's one of the coolest things, of course, is the relationships that we've built. And yeah, obviously, the majority of my friends are book people. And that's a pretty cool group of friends to have.
Likewise, very grateful for having you in our lives, and for the wisdom that you shared on this episode, fun stories that I had never heard before. That was definitely a pleasure to have you on.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. Thanks for doing this, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We hope you had fun.
Yeah, I did.
Tell all your friends to reach out. We're also looking for some badass book chicks to grace our podcast like yourself. Maybe we would definitely have a ball to have the Kuester sisters on an episode, all three of you.
That'd be funny.
That'd be fun. Yeah. And thanks again. You're welcome back anytime. So if you ever have something that you want to chat about, or more stories to share, even for a longer episode, or shorter episode, all those things that you want, all these different things that you could probably tell us about life in general, welcome back anytime. Please do so. Yeah, absolutely. Nick, do you want to tell us about what's coming up and some of the next few episodes? Any big ones?
Let me pull up our schedule.
And while you're doing that, I would like to plug the Dave Rosen. So if you're listening live or we do have Dave Rosen coming up in August 12th. That was a big one that we felt like we were like,
one of the Yvette,
we got Yvette and Dave Rosen. It's like Mount Rushmore is coming together, like the Southwestern Mount Rushmore. It's so August 12th, 7:30 Central. We're gonna have Dave Rosen on here. So
put it on your calendar.
Yep. Who else is coming up?
All right. So this upcoming Sunday, April 18th, we are being graced by another 2013 superstar, Katie Grassi, will be on the podcast. That's actually going to be just Katie and Andres. He requested to have a fun episode with her where they can reminisce on their summer together. They were great inspirations for becoming top first years. Next Thursday, we've got Ben Bressler, who just finished up his last summer in the business. He actually works in Southwestern's marketing department. So he's someone that's currently in the Advantage program, but not as an intern. He'll provide some cool insights and fun flamethrower stories, is what he's teased his episode will include. On the 25th, Sunday, we're having Chris Q to bring in another one of the Q family. We've already had Brandon and his wife. Now it's time to get Brandon's little bro in the mix. After that, we'll be having Patrick Tullius on Saturday the 1st, our first Saturday episode. That'll be in the morning. And then we've got others that we're getting in the works just to grace our lovely podcast. So thanks so much for listening, everybody. Again, thanks, Yvette, for joining us. And Andres, do we maybe have an announcement to make, or is that for the next episode?
You talking about? Yeah, I mean, we have a Patreon page going. So if you guys want to find us on Patreon to help support, we're trying to figure out how to move this. We've gotten a lot of viewership. We're growing our audience really big time. And then if anybody out there is looking to sponsor and put their name, whether of your business or what you're up to now, we'd love to give you shout outs through a sponsorship that we could do. We're trying to stick it to alumni. So that sounds bad. We're trying to stick with alumni sponsors. So that way it kind of stays in the group before we go offer it up to, random companies that are, would be willing to pay for this stuff based on our viewership. So we want to keep it in the family. So yeah, on that, Yvette, oh, thank you so much. It's been fantastic. You are awesome. Nick, thank you for being here as well. My name is Andres Gamboa. This has been the Ponytails Podcast. See you, everybody. Bye.
Bye.